Welcome back. You're still watching the Daily Debate, and I am honored to be having with me in the studio for this episode Dr. Mohamed Azzam, the technological and the development expert. Thank you very much for being with us today on the Daily Debate, and happy Ramadan.
Happy Ramadan to you, and always a pleasure and honor being with you.
The pleasure is all mine. How are you spending Ramadan these days?
Ramadan is moving fine, and
Yes.
of course it's the holy month that we should work more than everything, and we need to concentrate on moving forward, and Ramadan is a month of blessing, this for sure.
That's a positive note to be starting the episode with. We will be starting with START initiative, or IBDA initiative, under the directives of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. How do you see the importance of having such an initiative for the industrial sector in specific? Because we have seen the industry in Egypt over the past decades wasn't the best, if we can call it that way.
Definitely, if you need to have a competitive economy, if you need to have a resilient economy, you need to have a state-of-art industrial sector.
Yes.
This is how it works. And of course, in IBDA or START initiative, there is a great focus on small and micro enterprises, because most of the economies are dependent on small and micro enterprises. This kind of ventures are almost representing like 40% of the GDP worldwide, 80% of the businesses worldwide, and contributing to 50% of employment.
Yes.
So this small and medium enterprises and even micro enterprises are the main driver for employment, and they are the backbone of any desired growth economically and socially, because its ability to employ, its ability to move forward, its ability and agility as well to conduct business, if you put them within the right context. And I think START initiative or IBDA initiative is formulating this framework to having such small and medium enterprises and even micro enterprises within a context that could be a player within the whole value chain of the industry, because you cannot depend only on large enterprises to do the business, or to boost the economy, or
Yes.
to increase the opportunity for employment, or to increase your GDP. You need also to depend on smaller ventures, and of course, as I said, they are the backbone of any economic development.
You mentioned at the beginning of our interview, the first thing, Ramadan, we need to be working more during Ramadan. We don't need to be lazy or not working, or saying that we're fasting, so we'll be putting everything away until after the feast. And we did see this at the culture and the mindset of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi inaugurating at the Suhoor banquet of the first day of Ramadan at the new administrative capital, inaugurating the Egyptian Islamic Center. So this is like a shock to the mindset that we have here in the country, to the culture that we have here in the country. Do you think that IBDA initiative, START initiative, could be changing the mindset, instead of being just relying on a constant salary that I get at the beginning of the month or at the end of the month? I need to be taking a risk. I need to be creative. I need to be innovative, have an idea and work on it. Do you think that this could be changing the mindset of the youth?
It's a journey. And of course, the importance here is you start the journey.
Yes.
And if you need to have an inclusive development, you need to help people to understand the notion of entrepreneurship, of doing startups. Startups here, or entrepreneurship here, I'm not talking about high-tech
Yes.
startups. Of course, they are very important to the overall development of the economy. However, not everyone can work in high-tech domain. That's why there are hundreds of other opportunities in different economic and social sectors.
It depends on the needs of the market.
Definitely. And
Whatever they need.
that's why the importance of building an economic cluster. The economic cluster that a consortium, or it's a virtual consortium,
Yes.
that has every stakeholder within the consortium. Each stakeholder has a role and has a benefit. And if you have a value, then you'll have a footprint within the cluster.
Yes.
That's why you need to develop your own value. You need to develop valuable and competitive product and services to the value chain. Otherwise, nobody will use your products or services, and of course, you will be out of the business. That's why the initiative is not focusing only on availing business opportunities, but also there is a pillar for research and development, because it's very important. The world is progressing, the technology is altering every business model that we know all the time, and of course, by utilizing what's called the appropriate technology, or the technologies that suits our needs, suits our skills, is very important to have a competitive industrial sector or any economic sector. Also, they're availing training and vocational training for people to understand the nature of the new work, how to run a small business, how to have a sort of financial inclusion, how to handle a loan, how to apply for a loan, how to have a sort of wealth management technique, how to run a business, how to manage people, how to manage your other stakeholders, they are government, local administration, or other private entities.
Yes.
So its whole approach is actually a holistic approach. Is not focusing only of conducting business, but also they are connecting dots between every stakeholder within this economic cluster that will be around the country.
Doctor, you mentioned a number of important skills that no one really learns at school, for example. They could be learning maybe at college at this level, but not everyone has the chance to go to college and pay a lot of money and invest in himself to understand how the market works, how to be managing a workplace, how to be managing the people that you're working with, how to be applying for a loan, all those things that you have mentioned. What can a young man or a young woman who want to be involved in the market, who want to be having an innovative idea, something that they could be getting a lot of money out at the end of the year, what would they do? What they should be doing in order to have success at the end of the journey?
They need to understand the market itself, because the market dynamics is becoming very sophisticated. So it's not only about producing a product or a service, but also about understanding the dynamics of the market, understanding the dynamics of your customers, to understand your customer needs. Actually, we are hiring products to do specific jobs for us as customers. So I need to understand this kind of concepts. I need to understand the competition, because I'm not working alone. And if you don't have a competition, then you don't have a market. So I need also to understand there is a competition in front of me, and the only way to beat this competition is to provide better quality at better competitive price, not cheaper price, a competitive price. But the most important thing is the value for money I'm paying as customer. So this kind of young people need to understand the market is changing, and of course we are living in an open market place, and everything is there at your fingertip using the e-commerce platform.
Yes.
So you are not working here alone. You are competing against everyone on the planet. You are competing against ventures in Europe or in Africa or in Middle East or in China or in United States. So you need to have a competitive edge over your competition. And of course, by employing what's called the appropriate technology, you could develop such a competitive edge. You need to employ research and development, because you need to have a kind of progress within your manufacturing process, for example, within your marketing practices, your business's practices. So technology would help you. You need, if you don't have the right personnel within your venture to understand the effect of the technology, you need to hire one, you need to use one to help you to understand this kind of dynamics. You need to having a sort of allies all the time, because you cannot work alone. So you need to understand how the market is moving, what's the key, who are the key players within the market. You need to build soft ties with this key players. You need to have a sort of input to this key players with a value, of course,
Yes.
at a competitive price. to help them to take the decision to use your products or services within the larger value chain. You need to understand that technology would help you also to promote your product and services. So you need to understand the concepts and notions of digital marketing. You need to understand how the e-commerce platforms are working. You need to have a sort of logistics that would help you to fulfill the requirements of your customers. So business is not an easy job. However, it's always paying back if you are doing your homework properly. So
yes.
you need to understand that you need to build a competent team, you need to have differentiation with respect to your product and service, you need to keep the value that you are producing all the time, and you need to keep an eye on the markets all the time, because otherwise market is changing dramatically overnight, and then you will be out of the business. So this is very sophisticated landscape, and of course there are a lot of entities that are providing help and training and mentorship to such startups to help them understand all this kind of concepts and practice this kind of concepts and do a sort of on-job training for them. So they are not left alone, but also you cannot do.
It's not just about
alone.
the money. I'm not just giving you money.
Definitely. Money is part of it. Of course, finance is very important, because you cannot produce unless you have the proper finance.
Yes.
However, finance is always there. If you have a concrete business, if you have a concrete forecast, if you would be able to fulfill your commitment towards your investors, so this is the only way to do so, to understand this concept first, then you practice it, and then you will always have a kind of on-job support all the time to keep you ahead of the competition, to keep you a player, an active player actually in the market. So that's why that kind of initiatives is very important, because
yes.
you will have the training, you'll have the mentorship, you have research and development efforts, you will be connected with academia to do some applied research for you, you will be able to be connected with the larger player within the ecosystem, to have a sort of collaboration or to act as a feeding industry for them. So if you don't have this picture, I think it would be very hard for you to sustain the business, and because the small and medium and even micro enterprises are fragile by nature here in Egypt and all over the world.
Yes.
That's why without this kind of support,
especially during the coronavirus pandemic and the conflict between Russia and Ukraine.
And always like this, because business is a very tough task to take care of. That's why the success, the most successful business people and startups who can understand this kind of dynamics and work to enhance their skills to be able to cater the change and be able to manage their stakeholders internally and externally.
But do you believe that having the ability to go into the market and gaining experience and expertise in terms of having my own business and getting my own money and working with customers and dealing with problems day in and day out, do you think that this is the only way to be getting the experience we need to be opening up the market for ourselves and making money for ourselves?
Part of it, of course, because if you have a challenge, there's an opportunity for you.
Yes.
And with the global economic climate that we are facing due to the Ukraine crisis, we need to have a sort of local resilient economy with the minimum dependency on the international markets. And an initiative like START, or this a great opportunity to start local businesses to substitute the imports. And this is very important actually, and we've seen this even with large enterprises. Now large enterprises are recycling waste to be reused in their manufacturing plants or manufacturing assembly lines, again, because that's an innovation that is forced by the situation that we are facing in the world today. So this is really an opportunity, and of course the market is always there. Egypt is a 100 million market, and with the actually is could be up to 2 billion market, because we have a lot of free trade agreements with Europe, with Africa, with Asia. So the market is there. The challenge here is your ability as a small or medium or even micro enterprise is to produce a quality product and service, and you have the proper connection with the larger player within the ecosystem, within your value chain, then you will be successful.
In terms of the industrial sector, to be specific, because the EBDA initiative or the START initiative, they are aiming to be having 200 billion Egyptian pounds being pumped into the investments, specifically in the industrial sector. Do you think that this is viable in the next few years, 200 billion pounds?
Of course, this is a start as well, because you cannot only depend on the government fund.
Yes.
You need to be able to have a robust business entity that either attracts investment or gets loans from the financial institution, or both. So this is a seed money to start with, actually, and this is very important, because we haven't seen this for years in Egypt, to have such large amount of money is available for startups or to start your business. 200 billion Egyptian pounds is not a small portion or a small number.
Yes.
However, if you need to be a successful enterprise, you need not only to use the seed fund. There's a seed. This to start the engine. However, if you need to
building
continue,
on it.
of course, if you need to continue, you need to build a robust, competitive enterprise that would be able to attract more investment. And if you do this, then the other funding, the large funding, could come easily to you, and nobody will stop funding a successful enterprise for here in Egypt or all over the world. So you need to prove that you are able to fulfill your commitment in front of your investors, your donors, your loaners, and then by doing this, of course, you will grow. You will start with 5 staff member, then you'll have 50, then you'll have branches all over the country, then you'll have exports facilities that is able to export your products and services to the international or regional market. So it's a process, it's a journey, but you need to understand how the business is working, how do you conduct the business, how you manage the business, because a startup is a nice idea, however, is not sustainable unless you become a real businessman or woman that how to deal with the daily challenges, to deal with the challenges from your workforce.
Do we have this mentality for the next generation, for the young people who are getting into the market after graduation, that we need to be businessmen and businesswomen?
Definitely, this is very challenging. It's not an easy task, definitely. However, now across the higher education system, there is a lot of training, a lot of courses, a lot of mentorship regarding how to start your own business. The entrepreneurship spirit is becoming a fundamental aspect within our universities, even within the governmental universities or the public universities. You can find a lot of incubators, a lot of accelerators who could provide you with the necessary help and support and mentorship all the time. And of course, the market is there, and of course there's an opportunity. You need to take it. You need to have this opportunity, in order to have this opportunity, you need to start your business. You need to produce something valuable at competitive price. So it's a journey. It's something that you build year after year. There's something that you cannot start it today and have the result tomorrow. Actually, it takes years, and we've seen this in Korea, we've seen this in China, we've seen this in different places on the planet. So it's very important to start. It's very important to understand the business. It's very important to able to see the big picture and then have a role within the economic cluster and within your value chain.
Yes, before heading to the next report of the daily debate for tonight, the target for the START initiative is to be having over the upcoming 4 years about 150,000 job opportunities for the youth. How do you see this number? Is it just the beginning or this is the main aim?
Actually, this is a beginning because you need more than that, and you need to create jobs all the time. And the easiest way and the fastest way is through the private sector, through the small and micro enterprises and medium enterprises as well, of course. They are the main driver for employment here in Egypt and all over the world. So by having this kind of initiative, by having this kind of facilities that we haven't seen that for many years, now we would be able to attract this kind of seed money, start your business, then you attract more investment, then of course you'll have a lot of finance coming from different sources. So it's a process and you need to walk the talk within this kind of process.
Yes, exactly, Doctor. We'll be heading to the second report of the daily debate for tonight as the World Youth Forum is redirecting the 5th edition funding, or the budget for the 5th edition of the World Youth Forum is being redirected to the development of the enterprises and the initiative that we were just talking about, which is START initiative or IBDA initiative under the directives of His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. We'll be having more details about this step in the upcoming report, so stay tuned.
The World Youth Forum announced that this year's 5th edition will not be held in its usual annual format at Sharm el-Sheikh. Instead, the World Youth Forum's budget will be directed to the implementation of 5 important development initiatives. The World Youth Forum launched in 2017 under the auspices of President Fattah al-Sisi as a chance for youth to engage with policymakers and for participants from all over the world to network and to discuss a variety of issues, including climate changes, social security, entrepreneurship, among others. The packages and initiatives that will be implemented include 5 important projects. The first initiatives will be launched to support the entrepreneurship and small-medium enterprises with a focus on assisting entrepreneurs in starting their businesses or increasing the volume of their activities through business incubators and training programs. This initiative will be carried out in cooperation with IBDA Initiative for Development of Egyptian Industry, the Hayat Karima Foundation, the Federation of Egyptian Industries, Interlock Company, the United Nations Industrial Development Organization, the United Nations Development Program, and the International Labour Organization. The second initiative will be the Learning to Earning initiative, which aims to qualify Egyptian, Arab, African, and expatriate youth to the labor market and empower their employability skills. The initiative will be implemented in cooperation with the United Nations Children's Fund and the National Training Academy. The third initiative will address food security challenges by offering support programs to food industries in Egypt and Africa. IBDA, the National Alliance for Civil Development Work, Hayat Karima Foundation, and the Food and Agriculture Organization are participating in the implementation of this program. The World Youth Forum is also instigating a mental health support program which aims to provide psychological support, health, and community care, especially to refugees, migrants, and those arriving to Egypt from conflict zone wars. The initiative will be implemented in cooperation with the newly established Fahim Foundation and the World Health Organization. The 5th initiative is the Empower Refugees and Migrants initiative, which aims to enhance their integration into educational system, accessible healthcare services, and social protection programs. This will be implemented in conjunction with the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees in Egypt, the International Organization for Migration, Save the Children, and the Red Crescent Foundation. The World Youth Forum will also be launching the World Youth Forum platform for volunteers, which will serve to promote volunteering culture as well as support volunteers to participate in humanitarian and development work targeting poor and countries affected by wars, conflicts, or climate change. This will be implemented in cooperation with Haya Karima Foundation, the National Alliance for Civil Development Work, the Arab Voluntary Union, and the United Nations Volunteers Programs.
Welcome back. You're still watching the Daily Debate. Dr. Mohamed Azzam, I would like to ask about the investors, the investments, the potential investments that could be coming from countries like Turkey, Italy, China, Japan. How do you see such an initiative could be working in favor of getting more foreign direct investments from the outside of Egypt?
Definitely, because if the investor is looking for competent teams, looking for opportunity, political empowerment for business, and of course this kind of ingredients would help attracting more direct investment, because we have natural competitiveness edge by nature, actually, especially in logistics, for example, in farming, in agriculture sector, in textile sector, and other economic sectors. So if you are paving the way in a proper way to the investors or the international investment community, of course this would attract more of them to Egypt, and of course this will result into more projects, and of course more projects equals more jobs for youth, women, and people with disability. And through your report, we've seen a lot of key stakeholders are part of this initiatives that are taking place to really walk the talk, and of course this is a totally different mindset, because you can see full collaboration between the international organizations, UN agencies, regional organizations, the government, the public sector, and the private sector. And of course the people are in the center of everything for availing more opportunities for them to start their business or to be employed by the new ventures that you are creating nowadays. This is for, of course, the betterment of the economy and, of course, the society at large.
An important topic at this field in specific is removing the obstacles for the potential investors, for the potential entrepreneurs, even from within Egypt. What are the main obstacles that are facing? We could be asking about the Egyptians themselves who want to go into the market and make their own money and be their own bosses. What are the obstacles that they need to be eased or maybe removed altogether in the space of a month or two to be having more money and getting bigger into the market?
I think bureaucracy is the main obstacle, and the mindset that creates bureaucracy and red tapes. And by this kind of initiatives led by the government of Egypt and enforced by the government of Egypt, of course there's a political will to change this landscape once for all, because this is what creates more startups, and more startups in different venues, in different domains, in different business sectors will create more jobs, and then you'll have a real industrial nation that will be able to be a part of the global industrial and economic domain, and to be able to be part of the global trade. And by time, always there will find a new obstacle, but the ability, the agility to face this kind of obstacles and challenges, and to have creative, innovative solutions for them by cutting the red tape and by moving forward all the time, by easing doing business. Of course, digital transformation will help such thing a lot, because you are not dealing with people within the governmental entities. Most of the time, they are making some obstacles for, or they are not easing the process of doing the business. However, after the digital transformation is on the top of the Egypt agenda, of course, and it's actually President Sisi said it's a matter of national security as well, because it means the modernization. It means that you are able to deal with 21st century economy with its tools and mechanisms. By time you are paving the way, by time you are changing the culture, as I said, you cannot do things overnight. Everything, it takes time, and by time you are now promoting a new culture of work. You are promoting a new way of conducting business. Now we have facilities, financial facilities, tax facilities, non-financial facilities, technical training, vocational training, mentorship training, incubation and acceleration. So we are building a full ecosystem. And of course, this is very promising on the medium and long term, of course.
And regarding the efforts of the government in terms of reducing the imports and increasing the exports, how do you see the efforts of the government under the directives of the political leadership?
Actually, by this kind of initiatives, now you need to first, of course, to reduce the imports and to have local products and services instead of imported products and services. This will give you a value, it will give you an edge, it will save you a lot of hard currency. Then by time, if you are able to produce quality products and services that meet the taste of the international market, of course you will have a say in the international market if you are competitive enough. Because as I said, you are competing against everyone in the world. So you need to have in mind is the basic thing is to have valuable product and services at competitive price. And of course, to reach this, you need to understand that technology would play a great role. Research and development is quite needed. It's not an option to have it or not. If you need to be competitive, if you need to meet your competition, if you need to beat the competition.
Are we progressing in R&D, research and development, in terms of the markets that we have here in Egypt and the possibilities of exporting to the other markets outside of Egypt as well? Is there progress?
Actually, on the large enterprises, of course, this is very obvious because they are having even in-house research and development. But this is very costly operation, actually, to have research and development. That's why through this kind of initiatives, you need to link academia with the businesses, with the economic sectors, and to find solutions through the academia by having a sort of applied research and having a decent fund for this kind of research and development projects that are serving the needs and the requirements, the real needs and requirements of the industry. If you have this proper link, then you don't have this problem for small and medium enterprises, because there's a new mechanism. And we've seen this in many developing nations, actually, and even the developed nations like China or Korea, they started like this.
Yes.
You need to have this kind of linkage between academia and business sector to serve the business needs. That's why you need to have more efforts, more funds into the area and domain of applied research. That's a research that could be applied tomorrow in industrial sector, in a sort of a new technology or a new process that would help you to be more competitive, to be more resilient and able to meet the competition.
Yes, Dr. Mohamed Azzam, the technological and the development expert. Thank you very much for being with us tonight on the Daily Debate, and happy Ramadan once again.
Thank you so much, and always pleasure being with you. Happy Ramadan to you as well.
The pleasure is all mine. And this brings us to the end of the Daily Debate for tonight. And I will be leaving you, however, with the main top stories from the past week regarding the presidential activities of His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. So stay tuned. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.
President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi holds a meeting to follow up on the development of healthcare services and the current situation of the plans conducted in the health sector. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi in a phone call greeted Uzbek President Shavkat Mirziyoyev on the occasion of the holy month of Ramadan. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi instructed the Tahya Misr or Long Live Egypt Fund to allocate 1 billion Egyptian pounds to support the presidential initiative to end waiting lists for critical care. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi gives directives to launch an initiative in cooperation with the international universities in the new administrative capital to sponsor a number of outstanding students from Upper Egypt to study in these international universities. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi holds 2 meetings to follow up on the current and future projects to develop Egypt's sea, dry and land ports. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi met with the Minister of Al-Awqaf or the Religious Endowments, Dr. Mohamed who presented updates of the training programs provided for the new imams, which aims at improving their skills in all aspects. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi made a phone call with his UAE counterpart Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, in which he congratulated the UAE leader on naming new officials in a number of leading positions in the Arab country. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi performed Friday prayers at Al-Mushir Tantawi Mosque in New Cairo's 5th Settlement District as Egypt marks the anniversary of the 10th of Ramadan victory. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi inspects the Egyptian armed forces east of the Suez Canal in commemoration of the victory of the 10th of Ramadan.